Am I using this?
Whichever you want to use.
I will use this one.
Okay.
We have a thing going on. She said if I ever got bad, she was going to mute this. Okay. Now, I'm not going to give you a sermon. That's right. Because we have an important event coming up on September 21st. It's a church planning session. Now, I know when you hear the words planning session, you had another name for it, Patrick. What?
Vision and planning session.
A vision and planning session. And this is going to be very important, okay? And Patrick's going to help me. He and I are splitting this. So because, I won't go into why. Because we just got done with our big celebration on the building, and that was great. And we saw pictures of people and everything, and Pastor Mike wants us to keep that going. Okay, so I got looking at those pictures, and then I looked at my life. Those people that were in all of those pictures we saw, some of those people taught me here at this church. And I've always wondered, how did I learn all these songs? How did I know all of these Bible verses and stories? It's because somebody from the church taught me those when I was little and as I grew in this church. Downstairs in the blue room, that's where Sunday school is. So the building is important, but the people are far more important. And, you know, I try to think back. I don't remember those who taught me. Not until I got up into junior high and senior high. Then I remember having discussions about God and what it meant to be a Christian and about salvation in Sunday school. But if you remember back, sometimes you heard it, but you just went on. It was good, but it just didn't sink in, maybe, how important that was. Because I went on to college. Well, I went to school at Miami for a year and a half. I don't want to say I went to college. That like I went for 4 years. They had a dumb rule that if your GPA wasn't so much, you couldn't come back. I didn't understand that. So the Air Force said, well, we'd like to have you. So I went to the Air Force. Now, through this period, when I was in the Air Force, God was not really at the forefront. But he was still there. He's had his arms folded, probably going, okay, well, let him do this. Let him get it out of the system, and then I'll get him back. Well, I got married. And things began to change. And I've always gone to church. Isn't that interesting? I always went to church. Especially in Flagstaff. Well, even in Anchorage. We went to church. We went to church in Flagstaff because I had that grounding, if you want to call it that, of what people of the church had done for me. But even though I knew all of this, I kind of like, you have God in your head, but he hasn't moved to your heart yet. Okay? Because I remember in Flagstaff one Sunday, the pastor knocked on our door. He wanted to know if everything was okay, because we hadn't been in church. And I thought, well, we're fine. What's he talking about? Well, if we were tired, didn't want to go to church, we just didn't go. It's no big deal. We didn't go. Well, it was a big deal to the pastor because he was concerned for us. But that wasn't where, at least I was. I don't want to take Annie into all of this because I think that's where I was. So we came back to Mount Sterling. Things began to change when I got back to my home church. We sang in the choir first Sunday. We looked out over the congregation, and there they all were. Same people that I had left. They were all there. And we just had a great feeling about it. Then we had a lay witness mission here, lay witness ministry, and it was really big. But that's when I realized that God should be in my heart, and I accepted Christ. And I just owe it to everybody, those people in Flagstaff, those church people who were there. Because now I had a family. Now we were getting serious. It wasn't me, it was my family. And we always took them to church. So that was instilled in them. But through all those years, it was people like you who made a difference. Now, just because I'm at this age doesn't mean I still don't need help. I still need Sunday school. I still need support from my congregation. And that's neat. Now, I look out over you, and everybody's going, do you know how that makes me feel? I want all of you to come up, one at a time, and I want you to look out. Smile, people. This is God we're talking about. This isn't. Now, I haven't seen anybody ready to watch. And Ben and Joyce is going to be there. It's cool. Okay? So what I want you to do is not look at this as, that's good for me, because it's happened to you too. Somewhere in your life this has happened. And now, on the September 21st, we got a chance for all of us to come together and explain and plan how you're going to participate. Because we have young people that are up here. We have to teach them about God. We have to teach them about Christianity. Because in today's world, Christianity is under fire. And we need to help them. And you have the knowledge to do it. You just have to say, I will. Okay, I'm done. I have to cut it that way because I'll just keep on talking. So Patrick's going to...
Nobody look at your watches now.
No, smile, Patrick.
Thank you, Mike. I just want to echo a few of the things that Mike talked about and talk about Carrie and I, our commitment to this church. And I just want to thank Mike for the opportunity to share that with you. My name is Patrick Dunkley. My wife, Carrie, as many of you know, grew up in this church. We have two children, Julie, who is 8, and Andrew, who is 6. And we started coming to First Time Methodist Church about 2 years ago. When we first came back to this church, we started talking about how things used to be here. Many times, Carrie and I would sit at our dinner table, and she would recount all those happy memories at church summer camps, vacation Bible schools, the many dinners, festivities, and NYF. She tells me some great stories about all the kids she grew up with at church, many of which had kids of their own that attended here just like us. In many ways, I envy her for her faithful childhood. Those memories are something that I wasn't part of, but most importantly, I'm grateful for them. They are a large part of who she is. She often says how much she learned from those special times. All those times of laughter, fun, and learning played an integral part in her life and character as a person. I'm grateful to this church for helping to make her the good person I think she is. While we sat at our dinner table recounting all those special memories, we realized that we wanted our children to have memories just like these. We want them to have similar times of fellowship and learning. We want them to become good Christians, good people, and good examples for those around them. We both feel that a church family that is vibrant, connecting, caring, and active is crucial for their faith development. Over the past year, building up to the centennial celebration, throughout all of our many activities and gatherings, I've become aware of the tremendous history of this church. Sure, there's the history of the building, but as Mike said, the truly amazing history is the people of this church. Surrounded by my church family, I enjoyed listening to all of the stories about the past and the great things that were accomplished here. I witnessed how those memories impacted you in so many ways. I was blown away by how many people gave up so much of themselves to make all of these memories possible. I think about all those dinners cooked, Sunday school lessons taught, songs that were sung, and the countless hours given to this church. And I found myself thinking on this. I realized that all of these people were not just volunteering their time and talents. They were teaching Christianity by example. Our parents, grandparents, and friends were showing us how to be a Christian. That giving and participating in this church because God calls us to is the true example of being Christ-like. It was because of this church and the many sacrifices her members have made that hundreds, if not thousands of people were shown how to live a Christian life. They leave behind them a legacy, a model for Carrie and I to follow. When my wife and I made the decision to come back here, we made a pact that we were going to become an active part of this church. If our kids were to become good Christians, we must show them how to do so. While we can help teach them about Christ, showing them how will hopefully leave a much longer lasting impact on them. We hope that someday when talking to their kids, they can think fondly on their memories about Carrie and I, and how much we loved our church, its people, and the neighbors around us. We also hope that by our example, our children will feel passionate about becoming an active part of their own church. While coming on Sundays is very important in their spiritual education, committing themselves and their talents is vital in learning how to apply those lessons. We've realized that we have a responsibility. Just as our friends, parents, and grandparents have invested in this church, it is now our turn to join them. They gave up so much of their time and resources. They have shown us the way. Now Carrie and I must try to show Julie and Andrew and anyone else that comes into these doors or sits down at our table or into our lives what it means to be a good Christian. We must try to be like those who have already shown us how. We are confident that the future of this church will hold many opportunities for us. We eagerly await those opportunities that God gives us to become an active part of this church so that we can invest in our own church family and that our kids can learn from our example. We hope that you will help us and support us to carry on the good work so that all of us together can leave a legacy for the next generation. Thank you.
Carolyn just informed me that you weren't bored with me, you were just being thoughtful. So I'll go with that one. That's good. Thanks, Patrick. You know, I was thinking as he was talking, you know there's a, I don't know if it's a Bible, it's in the Bible, but I don't know if it's a verse, but where you have a single cord that's easily broken, but if you get a lot of cords and wind it, it gets stronger. So that's what we need to do in the 21st. We need to all get together to find a strong cord for God to do His work. And we can do that. We're all there. And like Patrick said, this is the future of our church. So I'm getting off track. I'm not. So let's stand and let's sing that closing hymn, which is